First, I would like to welcome Cosimo Avesani, economist from FAO. I have a question for you. So FAO has recently published a database and a paper on ag ERPs, namely those environmental related provisions in regional trade agreements that are linked to agriculture, fisheries, and forestry sectors. So could you please go into more detail on this and explain the importance of the linkages between these three sectors and the environment? So, Cosimo, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, Mari. Definitely, it's going to be difficult actually to speak now after Christian and all the other colleagues that took the floor before me with so many interesting things. Of course, so FAO a few months ago published a publication indeed on AgRPs. What we did in this paper was to try to understand the linkage that there is between environmental related provisions and the agriculture, fisheries, and forestry sector. But let's say, a step back. So basically, we know that the agriculture, fisheries, and forestry are closely interdependent with the environment, and of course, they depend on it for their long-term productivity and sustainability. I mean, we need healthy soils for agricultural production. We need responsible fish stock management for the fishing industry, and sustainable forestry practices for timber production. But of course, we know as well that the environment can also be affected by these three sectors. So we can have central agricultural practices that can contribute, for instance, to soil degradation or water pollution, or we have practices that can lead to the depletion of fish stocks. And I mean, we know it very well as well, the issue of deforestation. And also agricultural trade can play a role on the environment with, of course, some mixed impacts. Production for exports can lead to increased pollution and the depletion of natural resources. And this is normally coming for the very domestic regulation very often that are applicable in a specific country, as a colleague was saying before. On the other hand, for instance, trade can improve the allocation of production among countries, on the positive side, and open markets can enhance the access to new technologies so that basically you can make your local production more efficient. So let's say that the balance between sustainable development and the trade liberalization has received, for this reason, a kind of renewed attention from policymakers and trade negotiators over the last 10, 15 years. So we started to try to understand how these things were embedded, for instance, in RTAs. And I'm pretty sure that all of you know what RTAs are, but let's say that here in RTAs, we really use the WTO definition. So free trade areas, customs unions, common markets, economic unions, okay? And we see that there is a global trend, of having more RTAs than in the past. It might be for the state block at the WTO multilateral negotiation. And we see as well that there are many, many, many developing and developed countries that are participating to RTAs. And what we see as well is that the inclusion of environmental related provisions, which are those provisions, let's say, that are referring directly or explicitly, let's say, to the protection of the environment. They are, of course, different objectives. There can be the protection of, or let's say, ensure that the third parties are not reducing the level of domestic protection at home. We might have political reasons, as you were mentioning before, because some countries would like to have this kind of provisions in their agreements so that they can get broader political support from their public. So we started to try to understand what they are, where they are, and we saw that there are many, many, many ERPs that have a clear linkage with the three sectors. There can be a linkage which is very much explicit, or a linkage that is, let's say, more broad in the sense that they are embedding the three sectors as such. And we have seen that through the years, in the last basically since 1995, there was a race in the use of AgRPs in in RTAs. Just for you give you an idea, we went from like some 3-4 AgRPs in RTAs in 1995, and we had a peak of 41 in 2018. So it's really a trend going up. And of course, there are some fluctuations in the absolute numbers, but if you look at the trend is skyrocketing. Both what we call in the study North countries and South countries are involved in it. So we have many AgRPs that have been included in agreements between North countries, many AgRPs in agreements between South and North, but as well we can see that there are more and more AgRPs in agreements between among South countries. So I will try to wrap up, because as well I don't want to take the floor for too long. What we can see in this trend is that at the bilateral level, something is happening, let's say, on the environmental perspective when you're talking about trade. We also have, so with the development of this database that you can find online on the FAO website, we use it already for some econometric analysis. And for instance, we've been analyzing the relationship between AgRPs in RTAs and greenhouse gas emission from agriculture. And we see, for instance, that there is a positive correlation between the two things. Okay, so now we're thinking about using this database for new analysis, for instance, on specific environmental outcomes, which could be, I don't know, deforestation, stock, fish catch, and these kind of things. And that's it. You can find these two papers on, as I was saying, on the FAO website. And we might have as well another one coming out in a few months that probably Christian will be more interested about, which will be looking at the relationship between AgRPs and the actual effect on national legislation. So to see if regional trade agreement can positively affect the legislation at the domestic level. Thank you.